Healthy soil is the foundation of productive agriculture, and it's a key component of sustainably using natural resources. When managed with minimal soil disturbance, soil provides rich and fertile land that helps crops thrive. If soils must be disturbed, the consequences could result in a loss of topsoil. For farmers in the United States, the Dust Bowl of the 1930s was an event that defined how we produce crops and make agricultural decisions today. High winds kicked up so much dirt and dust in the Great Plains that seemingly never-ending thick brown clouds engulfed the entire region. It's an event that symbolized the hardships of the whole country during that time. And today, some researchers worry that we're headed for another Dust Bowl. Research focusing on the central U.S. shows that atmospheric dust in the region has more than doubled in the last 20 years, and dust storms are becoming more common and more severe every year. The recipe for these perfect storms? Drought, high winds, and fields with no ground cover. While we must continue farming in the Great Plains region to produce enough food to feed the growing global population, soil conservation and regeneration is a primary focus of sustainability strategies, and sorghum farmers play a pivotal role in maintaining the health of their soil resources. So, if soil health is critical to a sustainable food and agriculture system, what components make up a healthy soil?
A healthy soil is any soil that is able to support plant and animal growth and productivity, is able to regulate water, is able to regulate pollutants, and is able to provide support for plants, kind of physical support for plants. So healthy soils are kind of the foundation for production agriculture.
So when I think about some of the main principles of soil health, I think about really just three things. One is keeping soil covered. So whether that's with plants that are growing or crop residues themselves, keeping the soil covered is one of the best things we can do for keeping it there so it doesn't blow or wash away, but also so that microbes can break down those residues or break down those plants and turn them back into soil organic matter. Crop rotation is super important too. So we know that if we grow the same crop forever on the same soil, we can end up with pest problems, we can end up with disease problems. So crop rotation is a really good thing. The last principle is minimal soil disturbance. So minimal the soil disturbance is good. No-till or direct seeding, where we're just driving through old crops, or even interseeding, where we're planting new crops into a current living crop.
And if these are the principles of soil health, what is causing the soil degradation or the decline of soil health and concerning farmers and researchers across the world?
I think agriculture's biggest challenge in degradation is through erosion. So physically losing soil from one place where it's useful in the field to other places where we don't want it. Heavy tillage really breaks up soil, makes it subject to erosion, and until new plants grow again, there'll be a period of time where it's bare.
So when you look at the U.S. high plains, we are in an environment that is semi-arid, characterized by low water availability. So with this low water availability, it impacts our production. So with crop production being low, we have less residue cover on the soil surface. And then we also have high winds that causes wind erosion to be severe in some parts of western Kansas. And we also have, sometimes we have high intensity rainfall. So you can have loss of soil through wind and also through water erosion. So these are some of the factors that cause soil degradation in our environment.
In order to improve soil health, farmers look to crops like sorghum. Simply including sorghum into a crop rotation adds diversity to the cropping system, potentially leading to increased organic matter, enhanced microbial activity, and improved post-harvest residue breakdown. It also pulls carbon from the air and keeps it in the ground.
Sorghum can regenerate soils because it produces an extensive amount of biomass, both above ground and below ground, with their very fibrous roots. In climate-smart agriculture, the amount of biomass you produce is proportional to the amount of carbon you sequester. So sorghum plays a key role on carbon sequestration nowadays.
Additionally, sorghum has several characteristics and mechanisms to conserve water use for short periods of drought and still produce productive yields. Basically, it's water smart and uses soil moisture when it needs it most.
So sorghum protects water in two different ways. The first one is the huge biomass that sorghums produce increase carbon, and carbon is responsible for improving soil structure. And with the extensive root system, we are improving soil aggregation. Improving that, we are going to have more infiltration, and we are making sure we are keeping in the field the water.
Sorghum is a resource-conserving crop in many ways because it will wait for a rain. It rolls its leaves during the heat of the day to minimize the amount of moisture, the amount of water getting away from the plant in the hot part of the day. That's extremely important in the environment that we live and farm in here in Kansas, where many times we have to go several weeks without rain.
Sorghum is a great crop to help maintain a healthy balance in a healthy soil. Sorghum will put way more infrastructure below the ground than what you see above the ground. Sorghum will go dig deep to find the resources to make the crop.
Not to mention, when farmers implement no-till or reduced-till practices to minimize soil disturbances, these practices enhance sorghum's ability to retain moisture, improve soil health, maintain soil structure, and avoid greenhouse gas emissions in multiple ways.
In the high plains, no-till has gotten rather popular because one of the consequences of doing a lot of tillage is that you make the soil surface dark and then the sun comes and hits that. We get a lot of water evaporation. With practices such as no-till and cover crops, we start rebuilding the soil organic matter at the surface first, and then over time that can sort of work down. But even just rebuilding it in the top 2 inches is so important.
So, who's already on the cutting edge of reduced tillage? You guessed it, sorghum farmers, nearly all of whom have adopted reduced tillage techniques on the plains for generations.
Most of the grain sorghum in western Kansas is planted no-till, and that has been very, very helpful in maintaining soil health. If you have a no-till system, we are storing more water. Not only are we storing water, we also have crop residue that are being added to the system. Because of sorghum, we have a lot of no-till adoption too, and this helping to build soil. We have residue protecting the soil. We have biomass being added to build soil organic matter content, and that has been very helpful to us.
Regenerative soil strategies have never been as important as they are today, because we can't afford to repeat history. Today and tomorrow, sorghum farmers are committed to these strategies to protect the soil from erosion, improve overall soil health, and sustain their way of life for generations to come.
It is a life's work to keep our fields healthy. I want people to fly a drone over my field in 50 years and say, look what this guy did. Look how he took care of his soils.